Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy holidays to you as well, and the end of 2023. I'll give everyone a few moments to join, and if you can hear me, please let me know by putting yes in the comments. And there's usually a 10-second or so delay when you're going live, so I just wanted to make sure everyone can hear me. All right, perfect. Okay, great. So I will just let a few others join and welcome. Thanks for spending some time with me today for our Q&A session. And if you haven't attended previous Q&A sessions with me, I do have them on my page where you can re-review. I held a session on the 20th of April, the 18th of May, the 31st of August, and this one is our last one for 2023. And in these forms, it's just a Q&A session for those that are wanting to transition to clinical research industry, or those already in the clinical research industry, where you can ask myself questions. And so everyone can just put their question in the comments, and then I will go question by question for an hour and just kind of answer as many as I can and give some, rationale or clarity to a question you may have or a problem you may be facing. And just a little bit of background about myself. My name is Tiffany Ashton. I am the Director of Operations at ClinEssentials. I have been in the clinical research industry for over 20 years now. I started off as a CRC. And then after 4 years of being a CRC, I went to the CRA position, and I did that before transitioning to the CTM role. And I have been in the CTM role since 2011. And I've worked at both sponsor and CRO companies, phase 1 through 4. So I have experience in the CRC, CRA, CTM space on both the sponsor and CRO side in all phases, and most of the popular indications as well. So feel free to tap into my knowledge base and any questions that you may have. We'll go ahead and get started. And if you're not already following me on LinkedIn, please do, because I like to engage with the community. And, we post various topics, as well as you'll be able to see videos that I do or articles, things that can help you as the individual have a better work-life balance in the clinical research industry and continue to advance your career. So that's all about myself for now. I'll go ahead and let's get to it. So who wants to be the first one to pose a question for me to answer? All right. Okay. So first one, I am a CRC looking for a job as a CRA at CROs. Do you have any advice for me? Well, thanks. Great question. I think the biggest advice that I would have for you is to make sure that you are networking with your CRAs that are coming to your site as a monitor to monitor your study data and your patient data. That is going to be your number one secret weapon. So when I was a study coordinator, I would see my CRAs every 4 to 6 weeks when they came to visit, and I would let them know, hey, I have an interest in eventually moving to the CRA space. And there were CRAs that would say, well, send me your resume. I know about your work ethic. I work with you all the time. You would be great in the CRA role. And we started exchanging information. So that's one of the biggest ways that you can, get in, by having someone refer you and a monitor who has experience with your work already. So that's one of the things. The other thing that I would suggest is that you do some education on the CRA role outside of what you may get for once you're hired at a company, because you want to have a knowledge base. You may have an opportunity to be interviewed, and when they're interviewing you for a potential CRA role, they would want to know that you know what is the requirement of a CRA at the SIV, PSV, IMV, all of those things. So it would be good to have a knowledge base. So just kind of watch YouTube videos. You can go to the ClinEssentials .com email and read blogs that we have, get access to checklists as well. But these are some of the ways that you can orient yourself and collaborate. The industry right now is very competitive. So I want to be honest with that. So this is something that you're not going to be able to get in overnight, but you have to work towards it. And these are some steps that you can work towards it. Educate yourself, do research, network, also be on the lookout for CROs that have bridge programs from the CRC to CRA where they'll train you there. So those are some suggestions there. But whatever you can do to look at all different types of companies, even smaller companies as well, smaller to mid-sized CROs are out there, and not just the big ones. These are other opportunities where they may have the ability to take a chance and train a CRC to be a CRA as well at those smaller to mid-sized companies. So great question. I spent a lot of time on that one because there's going to be so many that have similar questions to that. How do I get in to be a CRA? If you're in other roles, similar. You want to network with CRAs if you're interacting with them. If you're at a company and you're a CTA, talk to your line manager. You have to express that you have an interest. Otherwise, no one would ever know you're interested in the CRA role. Good question. Okay, next question. What advice do you have for people who are trying to transition into clinical research but don't have STEM background degree? That's okay, but you do need to have a knowledge base about what we do in clinical research. The phases, the drug development process, IRBs, ECs, good clinical practice. So those are some things that you can educate yourself on in the interim. Also, please visit our website because we have a lot of blogs, and we will be, in the new year, we'll actually have an intro to clinical research guide that will be coming out to those that are interested in downloading and wanting to transition into the clinical research space. Also, it will give you, typical career paths that you can take within the space, how to get started, etc. So it's a really good guide that will be helpful for your question. But you have to learn about our industry if you're transitioning in, and that's a good starting point, especially during the holidays when you may have a little bit more extra time. Great question. Good morning. I've been trying to get into the clinical research for a while now, but I have no experience. How do I do that? So you want to, again, educate yourself on what we do. You have to think about it from an employer's perspective. If you're coming in with a knowledge base, even knowing what good clinical practice is, what an ICF is, an informed consent, what a protocol is, that's going to be so valuable to a potential employer versus you not knowing anything about our industry. And you're like, give me a job. And they're like, okay, but we have to educate you on what we are doing first in order to even give you a role that you can take off in. So please try to meet the employer kind of at a little bit of an even slope. Do some of the things that you can on your end, NIH, city, GCP finding. These are programs that have GCP training where you can learn. And then from there, I would give you the same suggestion about downloading the guide for the intro to clinical research and how to find roles. One thing that I will say is you want to learn the various roles in clinical research so you'll know what you're looking towards. If you eventually want to be a CRA, CRA is not an entry-level role. So you would have to learn, okay, what are other transitional roles that could eventually get to my goal, knowing that CRA is not entry level. So also you want to be realistic on the roles that you can get entry level, but start at the site side. They always are looking for great staff to add value. And so that's a good place to start, but also learn about the industry first too, so you can really get in and get going on day one for them. Hi, Michelle. Okay, how many years of direct monitoring experience do you think a CRA would need to be successful as a senior CRA? So, good question. They typically put the senior CRA role at 4 years of experience or more. So 4 years, if you've been a CRA for 4 years monitoring, they typically would classify you as a senior CRA. But you also have to look at things in a big scope, because you could be on one project for 4 years and only see maintenance. Or you could have been on one project for 4 years and only been in study startup for that time. So, or you could be on 2 projects that were in study startup. So you don't have the full scope of how a CRA would, perform responsibilities in startup, maintenance, and closeout, just because you've been in one area. So one of the things that you want to do is look for opportunities to get as much experience as you want, but as they're able to give you, because you want to be well-rounded, because that's in essence, a well-rounded someone who has experience in startup, closeout, maintenance, feasibility. That is what makes you really strong. And in multiple indications, if you could have that as well. But if you just wanted to look at years, it's usually 4 years before you're considered a senior CRA. If you're 2 to 3 years, you're usually considered a senior CRA 2. And then if you only have like 1 to 2 years, it's CRA 1. But also know every company is different. So you have to look at how they would classify you based off of the amount of exposure or experience you have. Good question. Hello, with 17 years in the non-clinical GLP CRO space, what level can I most likely get into clinical? I've worked on clinical sample analysis studies for 12 of those 17 years. Well, Nancy, let's see. It really depends on your company and the company that you would be working for. But because you're coming from non-clinical, clinical is totally different. So you have 17 years, you're likely going to have to start, at a lower position. You won't be able to come just because you have 17 years straight to the high level of clinical side. So don't be afraid to start as a research assistant, CRC, CTA, and there's different levels of those roles. So there's a, CRC, but then there's a senior a lead CRC, there's a CTA, and then there's a senior CTA. So don't think that if you're in that role, those are, roles that are not valuable. They're very valuable, but you just have to know where you can transfer in at. And those would be some of the roles that I would suggest. Also, you could, it could be regulatory, depends on, what you're interested in, but you want to look at the various roles within the industry and see what you're interested in, and then start working your way up to that ultimate goal. But don't be afraid to start and work your way up. And that's one of the things that I hear a lot. I just want to be a CRA. I just want to be a CTM. I didn't even just come in as a CTM. I had to work my way up to CTM. And the experience that you gain at each role is so beneficial. A lot of people underestimate that. So that's something else to just keep in mind as well. All right. Hi, Tara. Okay. So, hi there. I'm looking to get into, no, I am looking into getting a CRA certification through a local community college. I do not have a bachelor's degree, but 11 years of clinical experience. How difficult will it be for me to be hired for a CTA position or for a CRA position? So clarify that for me. But if you're saying for CRA position, so you're getting a CRA certification, and then you're wanting to pursue a CRA role afterwards. You have 11 years of experience, but no bachelor's degree. It's not impossible. I will tell you, it's not impossible, but you have to know where to look. A lot of people, when they go to look for CRA roles, they go to the big CROs, the Icon, the IQVIA, the PPD, Cineos, all of those big ones. And their criteria has to be stricter than if you go to small or medium-sized companies who may have a little bit more flexibility and take a combination of all of your experience as qualification. So the key here is to make sure you're not looking just at the big CROs. Look at other CROs. But you also want to make sure that you look at what the job requirements are and what they're looking for you to bring. A lot of times they'll say bachelor's degree required, or they could say bachelor's degree and or keyword and or a combination of previous clinical research experience, additional training, etc. So when you see those opportunities of and or, that's when you need to go for those. But if they say required, it's going to be more difficult. But and or, where they do have those are the ones that it's going to be easier because you're coming with a combination and you're hitting that criteria. Good question. I was a research assistant for a year and I'm trying to transition to CRC1. To CRC. I also have a master's in the field, but they keep saying for me to do a RA first. I would say research assistant for a year. You know, one of the things that kind of stands out for that, I would say, let's look at your resume to see how you are portraying your experience. Are you speaking the lingo that the employers are looking for? Because if you have a master's in the field, like I'm not sure what field, but if you have a master's degree and you already been a research assistant, that would be the next journey is to CRC. So my question is, I want to look at your resume. Second question, it would be what types of roles are you applying to? And you might have to widen your search because you have given off what you say here. You should have enough experience to move to a CRC role. But I would need to dive in a little bit further, but those are just kind of my initial thoughts. Good question. Okay, so hi, Michelle. Is it possible to transition into a CRA within a year from a CRC? It is. It is at some companies, but you also have to know that the industry is competitive right now. So the employers are going to be looking for the most amount of experience they can get for their open role. So yes, the job description may say, 1 year of of CRC experience, would be ideal for this role. But if someone is also applying with 4 years of CRC experience, you can't compare to that person. That person is going to be more, knowledgeable in the CRC space. So when the industry was very abundant with roles and they were hiring a lot, there was a lot of openings, you could get in with 1 year of CRC. But now that it's a little bit more competitive, it's going to be a little bit harder because when you're going up against other candidates who have been in the CRC role for 4 years, they're going to choose 1 year or 4 years? Who's going to have more experience? And so that's just how they're going to look at it, unfortunately. So I would say continue to put your fillers out and work towards the CRA role, but you also want to take advantage of this time to get additional CRC experience while you wait to find that perfect opening, and continue to network with your CRAs as well. Hi, Dylan. Okay, so I'm currently a CTA. My question is, what would it be? What would it be the right approach with the site's study coordinator in regards to missing documentation in TMF? I've noticed frustration in several sites when there is a major backlog in documentation. Great question. So, Dylan, you have to know that our CRCs are busy. CRCs could have 5 to 10 studies that they're managing. They could have 5 to 10 patients per study, and they are busy. So the best thing to do for backlog is you have to work with them. You have to say, hey, we have 100 pages or 100 documents outstanding. Can we split this up? You send me 10 each week, 5 to 10 each week, until we work this list down. But if you send them 100 pages or 100 items that they need to send you by next Friday, they will be frustrated because you don't see the full scope of everything that they're doing. So I would say try an approach like that. And that would be something, you got to get the documents in, but you have to try a different approach, just knowing with the CRC's journey and what they're dealing with on the site level. You're not their only study. They have bigger fires to put out on a daily basis. And so you just have to work with them and see, okay, these are the many pages that you have outstanding or documents outstanding. Can you get this to me by this date? And have an agreement, but make it small and make it manageable for them. And that same thing goes for CRAs that may be listening. If you have a site that has a lot of queries, a lot of missing pages, a lot of data entry, or, missing pages and queries basically cover it. But if they have a lot of outstanding data, you want to break it up for them as well. You're not their only CRA, you're not their only study. And to make it more manageable, you want to do that. But in that, for the CTA and CRA, you got to start ahead of time. You can't just spring it on them and say, this is all due next week. If you know there's going to be a deadline 6 weeks from now, start telling them now, so we have 6 weeks to get that information in for the TMF. And if you're coming for a monitoring visit in 3 weeks, start now so they can get everything ready for you by the time you get there. Great question. I love those types of questions. What are the 3 main aspects for good clinical practice? How can proper documentation of eligibility be ensured? 3 main aspects. I would need to ask a few more questions to see kind of where you're going with that. But proper documentation of eligibility, you want to make sure that in your source documents, you have the inclusion-exclusion criteria kind of defined. And that is something that you use to confirm eligibility for that particular patient at the screening visit. So if you are using paper source, you can, print it up that way and have it in the source, and you do like a checkoff list. You also, if you're doing electronic source, you would do the same. And you also want to make sure that your PI or your sub-I is signing off on the patients that are eligible. But to do a little pre-work, you can look at their medical history, the patient's medical history. And, you can also ask them questions at screening to make sure that they would be eligible for the study. And then all of that needs to be documented. But there's so many directions that question can go. If you have follow-up questions to my response, just drop it in the chat. Thank you so much. No problem. No problem. Okay, hi Abdul. I have working experience for 5 years, and I will be needing visa sponsorship to continue working in the US. Can you tell me how and which organizations I need to apply? Well, the question is this something that you can continue with your current company? is there an expiration, like you cannot renew? That would be the easiest, is to renew with your current company. The other thing that you have to know is sponsorship right now in the industry. They're looking for employees that can get up and going without any extra things that are required. So when they're comparing two applicants, one that would need a visa and sponsorship versus one that is in the US and can get going, that could be the deciding factor on who they move forward with. So I would definitely look at your company that you're currently with. I would also see if there are any other companies that are like the company that you're at. Maybe they have some colleagues or another friend, not friends, but sometimes the CEOs or managers have, other managers at other companies that they can put in a good word and they can start the process at another company. But you're going to have to network. But I would start where you're currently at first before you try to pursue new companies, because it may be not as quick as you're expecting, just because the market is very competitive. And I would say start as soon as you can, so you don't wait to the last minute there. Good question though, Abdul. Hi, Andrew. So I've been an in-house CRA at a hospital and a CTC for a CRO. It seems organizations still want 2 years of monitoring experience, but these roles are unwilling to take a chance on someone that has done the job, but not the travel component. It seems like the arbitrary rule. Any insight into this? There are companies that will value your experience and give you the chance. You just have to find them. And I'm not sure where you're at currently, but for instance, if you were in Boston or in San Diego or in Raleigh, there are a lot of smaller companies, small to mid-sized pharmaceuticals, CROs, biotechs that you can tap into. So you want to try some of those types of companies versus the big 5 or the big 7, where they have to be more restrictive, and we need you to have this amount of experience to come in. So look in other places would be my biggest suggestion. And then also you want to make sure that on your resume it's clear, I am a clinical research professional with over 5 years experience across the in-house CRA and CTC roles. I am looking to transition to a CRA role, or you have to set it up on the value that you're bringing and where you're looking to go. But also during your interviews, you want to, look for opportunities where you can grow within a company. So maybe you go to another company as an in-house CRA, but you voice early that your ultimate goal would be to be a traveling CRA. So you may have to approach it that way as well. But there is opportunity. You just have to know and continue to be consistent and look accordingly, as well as network on LinkedIn. Some of your previous colleagues, they may be at other companies where they can, give you, be a referral for you, where you may be given a chance and an opportunity to interview for a position as well. Great question though. Hi, Lisa. I am a pharmacist looking to transition into clinical research. What courses or certificates do you recommend in this case? Do you have any suggestions on effective networking strategies or events? Great questions. Okay, so you want to get the knowledge base, GCP. What is phase 1 through 4 drug development process? Same thing. Anyone coming into clinical research from whatever background, if you're not familiar with what we do and our base, like our base level, you have to be familiar there. And so those would just be some entry level kind of courses. The good clinical practice through NIH, CITI, those would be some good ones. networking, LinkedIn, connect with people on LinkedIn, follow those that are very vocal in the space, that, have engaging posts, that provide videos, all of those things. When you're networking and when you're on LinkedIn, you'll see other people, connect with them, chat with them, have a virtual coffee date. Consider any local conferences if their agenda topics are, what you're interested in. And then the last thing is find out what role resonates with you. Do know as a pharmacist, you still would need to come in, and work your way up, be realistic about the role that you're expecting to be in clinical research as well. So those would be some pointers for just kind of getting started. All right. So Taylor, good question. Wanting to transition to the clinical research space from public health and finding a lot of companies are not currently hiring for the more entry-level roles such as coordinator and in-house CRA. I've tried looking into bridge programs for those wanting to transition, but many are looking for RNs. Any guidance that you can give? You want to just keep being persistent. It seems like you are looking in a lot of different areas. I'm not sure, Taylor, where you're located at. You may want to look at clinical research sites in North Carolina or Raleigh, North Carolina, and literally go one by one, go to their websites for the clinical research sites, go to the careers, see what openings they have. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone since you have their phone number and talk to the site manager, talk to their operations lead or director of clinical research, and tell them about your experience and your desire to get some experience and learn the various roles and start entry level. So you may have to take it a little bit, I call it old school technique, and go in, be more persistent, show up in the lobby with a copy of your resume and your elevator speech and get going when someone says, how can I help you? That may be your way in. So don't be afraid to try that. And especially if you're trying to make your way in. A lot of people, you said you're coming from public health. I just had a thought in regards to health fairs and ways to get the community to learn a little bit more about clinical research. That could be a value add that you can add to a clinical research site, that, hey, I have experience in public health and this is what I could help add to your, practice, your site, with community outreach, working with advocacy groups, all of those things for recruiting patients. That's so key to sites. So you want to learn about our industry and where kind of our bottlenecks are, and then see if you can bring your current experience to our landscape. If you're coming with a marketing background, recruitment, how are we going to market? How are we going to, get our studies known? You may be able to add something to that, some value to that. So think about the value that you can add once you understand our space, and then go to the local centers in your area there. Great question. Hi, Tatiana. Okay, so I'm a CRC with 3 years of experience. I'm not sure what path I desire to move towards, whether it's CRA, drug safety, SSU, quality, or CTA. I just know I want another perspective. How can I find the path for me? I want to do it all. Well, that's, hey, some people do want to touch everything, and that's fine. But you need to narrow it down, and you need to think, where will I be happy kind of long term? Where would I be happy in the immediate? Drug safety is like the pharmacovigilance side of things. CRA and quality, those are two kind of similar. SSU and CTA are kind of similar. So you're kind of going into 3 different tracks. But Potentially, you could be a CTA and then go to SSU. Potentially, you could be a CRA and then go to quality eventually. And then you could also look at the drug safety. But you want to set it up because you don't want to spend too much time, going all around in different directions if you have an ultimate goal. So you have to get clear on your ultimate goal, and network with people that are in these roles that you desire to be in, and talk with them, and see if that, after your discussion, if it's really what you thought, so you can start narrowing down your list or getting at least a few key ones, so you can work up the ladder that way. Because if you're trying to jump all the way around, it shows a little bit of kind of indecisiveness if you're all over here, but if you have an ultimate goal of to be, a quality assurance or quality control, if you have an ultimate goal, that's very easy to explain to a potential employer. But you do want to get clear so you don't waste your time, and you just don't want to waste your time, because time is ticking, and you'll be done before you'll be ready for retirement before you know it. Okay, so let's see. Currently working. So great question there. That I loved, kind of hearing the different paths that you're considering. Okay, so currently working in a medical communication, working in medical communication, but want to go into clinical research. How could I make this transition successful? Learn about us, learn about what we do, learn that you can't use whiteout in our industry. There's so many little tips and tricks that you need to know about our side of things. So you just have to learn. Then you have to look at the roles that you would be interested in: CRC, CRA, drug safety, data management, SSU. What role resonates with you? Okay, so Tara, okay, perfect. So you clarified CTA. So if I recall the question, you were pursuing a CRA certificate, but you want to become a CTA. You might want to chat with me afterwards. Send me a DM just so I can clarify, so I can further instruct based off of, because it's those. I just want to understand the path there. But good question. What is the best way to study, prepare for ACRP CRA certification? So the best way, now, when you go on their website, you have to make sure you meet the qualifications to take the exam. 100% with you, they want like 3,000 hours or 1,500 hours if you already have a clinical research degree or a relevant degree that they would give you credit, or 3,000 working hours. So make sure that you meet the qualifications first. That's number one. Then they do give you sections that you should be familiar with. Use their guide. That's the best way. If they're going to give you, the various sections of the regs that they're going to potentially test on, you want to go through, read through, and then you have to do scenario questions for yourself. So you want to find a group, or maybe even some other colleagues that are planning to sit for the test, and test each other on just the basics. And scenario testing, that's a lot of the test that you'll have to do, is scenario based. So if a patient was given 30 pills and they came back 15 days later, how many pills should they have brought back? Or just scenario questions, because that's a part of the exam as well. But the best thing would be to read what is on the exam page and follow that as a guide. Good question there. Okay, I'm a CRA 1 who was just told that I will be getting sites transitioned to me for oncology study. I've been co-monitoring for. However, I will be the primary monitor. I know not many CRA 1s get this opportunity. I'm thankful. However, does this mean I will be stuck on oncology for that? No, it does not. You can choose to do whatever you want to do. A lot of companies, potential employers, they'll ask what your experience is, and then they will ask, do you want to continue to work in that therapeutic area. You can choose if you're done and you want to explore others to say, no, I've done 3 years in oncology. I would like to explore additional therapeutic area experience. And rightfully so, because you want to be as well-rounded as you can get in the industry. That makes you so much more powerful to have a lot of experience in different areas. And if you're getting some sites transitioned to you, I highly suggest that you download our free guide on study transitions for CRAs. It's on our website under our resources page, and it's you can download it for free and use it as a guide to help with those transitions, because you want to make sure you're getting as much information from the outgoing CRA as possible. And any problem sites, any things that I need to know, and as it relates to travel, what airport do I fly into, where do I park my car, anything that they can give you to help the transition easier with those sites, you want to get. So that transition guide will help you. And there's also one for CTMs. If you're coming in as a CTM and you're getting a study transition to you, there's another set of questions that you need to ask specifically for CTMs. Good question. Okay. All right. I have over 4 years of clinical research experience as a research assistant and a CTA. I'm having trouble getting a position as a CRA. Any advice? Are you looking outside of your current company? Or are you looking within your company? So let's just say you're currently in the CTA role. One of the things I would say is you need to be speaking with your CTA line manager that you are interested in career growth and any opportunities for CRA. You would welcome them, letting them know that. They may not know that. So they could know of some opportunities coming up, but they didn't see or know of any CTAs that were ready for that particular role. So let them know. Now, if you're looking outside of your company, and you have to pay attention to the job description and also the qualifications. That is the thing. Right now, again, it's very competitive. If you're a CTA trying to be a CRA and they're looking for someone who's already had a CRA experience, that's not the appropriate position to apply to, because you're not ready. You don't have that experience. So that's going to be key. And then the last thing is, I would say, looking at your resume, same instructions or guidance that I gave the previous person. Setting up what you're coming with and where you're looking to go, that's going to be helpful to orient a potential employer on what you're looking to do, in your next role. So that's a couple of things that come to mind, but feel free to reach out if you have some specific questions, additional questions, but I would definitely want to take a look at your resume. No problem, Tara. Okay, let's see. I'm an experienced senior CRA looking to take my to take my next career move using the experience I have. Please, can you suggest some roles that might be suitable for me? Well, natural progression would be the clinical trial manager role. That's the natural progression from senior CRA. Doesn't have to be the only progression, but that's the natural progression. You could do study startup specialists. You could go into quality. You could go into, let's see, maybe an aspect of data management as well. So you would have to see what works, what resonates with you. Research those various roles. Talk to people that are currently in the role. If you are looking to transition to the CTM role, I do offer a course through ClinEssentials. It's the CTM role, and most of our students are either senior CTAs or senior CRAs that are looking to go to the CTM role, or CTM ones that are recently been promoted and want to get additional guidance and mentorship. So that's something that you can look at, because I know a lot of the hesitation with the CTM role is, I don't want to just be responsible for a study and I don't know what I'm doing. The course will take you through study startup, through study closeout, and really go through what your responsibilities are as a CTM, as well as we do practical activities so you can get hands-on training, how to do a kickoff meeting agenda, how to plan an investigators meeting, things to help set you up for success. So that would be your natural progression, but CTM is just one angle. Project manager is also another role you could pursue, but just look at the job qualifications there, because some companies call project manager, other companies call it CTM. So CTM and PM at some companies are one and the same. So, those are some options, but take a look. I'll also, at the end of this recording, I will add some links for everyone. And if you are ready to pursue your CTM journey, you can book a call with me and we can go through kind of where you're at in your career and if that would be the next best step for you. So I'll put that link as well. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining. All right. Hi, Dylan. What do you think are the key elements to have as a good CRA? To have a good CRA CTA relationship. I'm looking forward to establish a good collaboration with my CRAs and be of great help. First thing, I love the way you're thinking. That's what the CRAs need. Second thing, schedule a call. Your CTM should already have ongoing calls with your CRAs every 2 weeks or every week, depending on the study time. Like if you're in study startup or if you're in maintenance or closeout, join one of those calls. Ask it as a question to your CRAs. How can I support you? Is there anything you need from me? And they'll start saying, hey, I really could use help with filing, follow up on action items, XYZ. They'll tell you if you pose a question. So definitely get on one of those CTM CRA calls and ask. But that's a great attitude to have, and they're going to love you as a support in-house for them. Hi, I've worked 1 year as a CRC, and I am working as a centralized monitoring assistant, and I want to switch to be a CRA. Can you suggest me some ways how I can plan? Are there any possibilities of moving internally to a CRA? So great experience. Continue to get this experience. So 1 year as a CRC, good. Now you're centralized monitoring assistant, good. Can you keep working to be a centralized monitor? The full monitor, that would be the next step. And then possibly after that would be CRA, but you want to speak to your manager to let them know. Now, do know when you have these conversations with your managers, not all managers will be supportive, unfortunately. So you want to kind of gauge that conversation, see what their feedback is. If you're feeling any kind of resistance, just know that you may have to pursue your journey outside of your current company. But if they're very supportive and they're, talking to you about this and giving you opportunities on how you can continue to get training or mentorship and really nurturing you along the way, that's going to be good indication that they're there for your career progression. But keep on the right track. Try to get as much experience. Don't hop too much. Don't hop around too much. Get to that centralized monitor, because that's just, it's similar to the CRA position. So that's why I say I don't want you to hop too much, because there's value in each position that you're in. How important is oncology CRA experience early in your CRA career? I'm a CRA 1 and have been a co-monitor for oncology trial for almost a year. Now that they want me to be primary for a couple of sites. With this experience, oh yeah, oncology experience is top notch. If as much oncology experience that you can get it. That one's sometimes hard to have. So if you have the opportunity, grab it. It's easier to get other experience, but once you have oncology experience, there's no turning back. It's like riding a bike. It's something that's going to stay with you forever. So grab it if you have the opportunity. And actually, one other question, UCSD Extension, they have a monitoring oncology course. It's an online course that you can take. So if you need some additional support, that could be a course that you can look into. It's called University of California, San Diego Extension program. What some advice you would give a PM working in academia looking to transition into industry? So you want to look at the small to mid-sized companies within industry. You want to make sure that your resume highlights where you're coming from, what you're looking to do. Then you want to see what role are you interested in coming into um, in industry. If it's the CTM role because you have some project management experience, yes, that's okay. But you, depending on how much experience, industry is different than academia. So you may want to consider like a CTM course or something like that to help bridge the gap because there are some differences because you've been on a probably one site level, CTM or project manager in industry, usually at the sponsor or CROs, they're running global studies or, studies with 50 sites, multiple CRAs, et cetera. So it's a different scale that you have to be ready for. Hello from South Africa. I have a public health honors degree and want to transition to clinical research as a CRC, and I got a certificate ICH GCP training in clinical trial, pharma. Okay, love it. I love this. Make sure all of that experience is highlighted on your resume. Make sure it's up there. Is what I'm doing enough, or do I need to learn more in terms of medical term? Yep, medical terminology would be good, but everything medical terminology would probably be the only other thing I would add. You're hitting all of the key components. Networking strategy. You should actually reach out. I just recently did a LinkedIn Live, a part of the clinical research around the world, a part of the clinical research around the World Series that I did with Bogatti. And so I'll put her link, I'll link her too, but she's in South Africa and you want to link with her, and she has some other resources that you could be able to tap into on in South Africa. So I'm going to link her as well, but I would definitely say that. Just a great session to me, a fellow ClinOps person here, and I feel we really need more hands in the industry, but more people are unaware how to enter. Yep. Yes, we do. We do. We do need people, but we also need people that are ready to go. So these are some of the things, trying to get them ready to go with some of the basic core principles of our industry so they can really help. And, a lot of times you would expect a lot of training when you get going. It's just moving too fast. It's moving too fast in our industry. You may get a mentor, but they can't mentor you, multiple hours a day. They may be able to meet with you once or twice a week. And so you have to be ready for that. And so that's why I'm saying, get yourself up to speed, do what you can on your end, because it's going to be so important. All right, piggybacking on that, I was an onc research assistant, onc research nurse, and onc CRA for 2 years, and having a difficult time finding new CRA jobs as a CRA in oncology. They all seem to not want to guarantee therapeutic area. I would say you want to focus on the oncology-based companies. That is probably a secret weapon. Small to mid-size oncology companies, especially with all of that experience that you're coming with. And then you want to see what your resume is how your resume is set up. That's going to be the other thing, to speak to all this great experience that you have. But send me a message, because I would definitely want to look at how you're portraying your experience, and then where you've been looking. If you've only been looking at certain companies, that could be the reason why you're having trouble there. But if you're looking to get outside of oncology and you want other experience, you want to put that as a part of looking to expand my clinical research therapeutic experience. Put that out there, that you're looking to get additional experience. And so that's why you're pursuing that company at that time. How did I get into research in the beginning? Was it always something you knew you wanted to pursue? What's your favorite thing about it that's kept you in so many years? Oh, Joe, this is a great question. I actually did a great interview with Dan Safera 2 years ago, and it's still on YouTube. But I got in by accident. I didn't even know anything about this industry, didn't even know it existed. But I moved from Los Angeles to San Diego, and I needed a job before I started college. So I applied for an admin assistant at a small site management organization. And I was in there as an admin assistant initially. And then I started observing, well, what are you guys doing? And that's when I got my first exposure to CRCs, patients, the whole landscape of clinical research. So I kind of fell into it, but I love it just because there's so many different directions you can go. Um, I really like the CTM space, but I like getting experience and having experience in other areas as well. So I think I like it because every day is different. So you really don't know what you're gonna get. So that keeps you on your toes and you're using your problem solving skills. So that's what I really enjoy about it. Great question, Joe. Hi, I'm registered nurse in CRC with 7+ years of oncology clinical research experience across phase 1 through 4, all sponsor types, experience at both independent phase 1 clinic and large academia oncology center from startup to closeout. Great experience, great experience. I have held roles as a research nurse, a CCRC, CTL, regulatory lead, internal QA, QC, auditor, research educator. See, look, if you guys are thinking about roles right here, this person is just listing out all kind of roles that you can consider in our clinical research space for new hires. What is the best route to transfer from the site level to the the CRO sponsor side? This is, I really think that you need to, where are you looking to go? What do you want to do on the sponsor and CRO side? That's going to be my number one question. What are you looking to do? From there, you want to make sure that this information is highlighted well on your resume. And then what indication are you looking to be in? So there's a few questions that I would say. Um, so reach out to me. We do, as a part of ClinEssentials, we do career services where we can go and dive deep into individuals, resumes, interview prep, all of those things. It's not always myself that you'll get, but you will get a research professional with over 15 years experience that can help guide you. So some of these questions that are more in depth and you want specific like roadmaps, I would definitely suggest booking a career services session. But I think the question got cut off, but basically best route, you have a lot of experience, you just need to highlight it appropriately on your resume, and you need to see what role that you want to go into next. All right. Yes, we do resume review. If you go on our website, it's under the career services. You'll be able to see resume review, interview prep, all of those there. And not saying that you'll always get me, but my appointments are limited. But put in a request if you are looking to get me specifically, and we'll see what we can do. All right, so I'm going to do this last question. This might be the last question, but if there's anything else under this, I will leave a comment or a couple comments in the chat. Thanks again for everyone joining. So let's get to this one. I have an experience of 6 years in clinical data management with some site experience as well in India. Currently, I'm in Canada looking for a job in clinical research. So can you guide me which positions I can try for? Do you continue to like data management? If so, I would say stick there. Potentially, you could look for a CTA role. It depends on what's your ultimate goal. That's the question. What's your ultimate goal? Ultimate career goal. Look there, and you have to work your way backwards. So I can suggest some things, but what's your ultimate goal? What's really going to be how you see yourself in the industry after 5, 10, 15 years? So you want to be in quality, you want to be in operations, where that's going to be the key on what your next step is, but you do have some really good experience already there. So that is what I would suggest here with that particular question. Find out your ultimate goal, and then we need to work backwards. All right. Okay. I think we got all of the questions. I don't see any more, right at the nick of time. Thanks so much for everyone who spent some time with me here. Hopefully, you were able to take away some nuggets of wisdom. Check out the previous sessions that I did this year. Next year, we'll probably be doing a different format, so not necessarily this format, but just stay in the know and connect with me on LinkedIn for future opportunities for the Q&A sessions. And check our website, ClinEssentials.com, for the free resources that we have for all different types of clinical research professionals. We'll have our guide for intro to clinical research coming in the new year. And if you are ready for that CTM as your next step, feel free to book a call with me to talk about the training program that we have, so we can help prepare you and give you the confidence and just alleviate the stress of getting into the CTM role from your current role, so you can just hit the ground running and manage your studies successfully. So thanks again, everyone, for joining, and the replay will be here. And happy holidays, and I look forward to engaging with everyone on LinkedIn. Bye.